Today, we're going to take a look at some mock trades for Dylan Cease, Jordan Hicks, David Bednar, Josh Hader, and more mock trades that I got from you on Twitter. We'll discuss all that on today's episode of Locked On Braves. So let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I am your host, Jake Mastriani. You can follow me on Twitter at shortstopball. Also, make sure you check out my written work over at bravestoday.com, where I wrote a trade speculation article on Monday, and we'll have a lot more of those throughout the month of July. Make sure if you're new to the podcast that you subscribe on YouTube. We're up over 6,200 subscribers there now, and you're doing a great job on the videos. We're approaching 5,000 views on the last two videos and over 100 comments. So thank you so much for your support there. If you're watching the video on YouTube, you want to continue to grow it, grow that comment section, hit the like button on that video. It does help support the show and give it to a larger audience out there. Also, make sure you follow us on Twitter at LockedOn_Braves. You can follow me at shortstopball. And if you are an everydayer, let me know down in the comment section below on YouTube or hit me up on Twitter to let me know. Thanks so much to Glenn Dice and Dale Howell, who let me know they are everydayers on the last YouTube video. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, it's going to be a very fun episode. Once again, just like our mailbag podcast, you are driving this episode of a Locked On Braves because I asked you to submit your mock trades out there, and you overwhelm me with a bunch of them. We're going to go through a lot of them today. Some of them I probably won't get to. Some of them honestly just weren't worth talking about. No offense, but may do this some more throughout the month of July as we are in trade season, and these are fun to go through. Look at some of these mock trades. And one thing to keep in mind when you're thinking about a trade that might work, we don't know what the other teams want. We don't know what the other teams value, and that makes it difficult sometimes to put together some of these mock trades. And look, the Braves farm system is not great. They could very easily be outbid for a lot of these top players, but I do think it's at least fun to go through some of these mock trades, look at some players the Braves could be interested in, and talk about what perhaps the price could be, what the Braves would be willing to give up, what it might take to get some of these players. So keep all that in mind as we go through some of these mock trades. First one comes from Jake MC23, who says Braves get Josh Hader, Padres get Dylan Dodd and Vaughn Grissom. Just quickly on Hader, he's in the last year of arbitration, making around $14.1 million. So Braves would probably have to pay around $6-7 million of that. Would be the best reliever available on the market if he is available. I'm still not sure that the Padres are going to be sellers at the deadline. We'll have to see how that shakes out. It may be one where, it goes down to the deadline before the Padres decide what they're going to do. Price will likely be much higher than Dylan Dodd and Vaughn Grissom. I don't see the Padres trading Josh Hader, even though he is a rental, without getting back at least one significant top 100 or borderline top 100 prospect, and Dodd and Grissom are neither of those. I think it probably would take one of the Braves' top pitching prospects. I don't know that it would quite take an AJ Smith-Shawver, which would be the only top 100 prospect the Braves have, but maybe, in Murphy, J.R. Ritchie, or Spencer Schwellenbach, and then maybe a B-level prospect as well. I think it probably would take a combination of both of those, one of the Braves' top pitching prospects and then another B-level prospect in order to get Josh Hader. So I think the price is probably going to be a little bit more than Dylan Dodd and Vaughn Grissom. I got to imagine Dodd's stock probably wasn't great outside of Braves country coming into this year. I know he got a lot of helium coming into the year after what he did last season and then the spring training he had. But with what he's done at the big league level and then combine that with what he's done at the minor league level this year, I got to think Dylan Dodd has lost a lot of his value. I think Vaughn Grissom still has a lot of value, but I think other teams are going to have the same question as the Braves is where do you play him? So I do think Vaughn Grissom is a great trade chip, and maybe he gets it done. You give Vaughn Grissom and then, maybe another kind of mid back of the rotation type of starter, maybe a Vines, maybe a Jared Schuster. Again, this all goes into what the other team values and how they value that talent. But I think it would probably take a little bit more than that, because if Hader is available, there's going to be a lot of teams going after him, because he's going to be the best reliever on the market that will be available. Big Dog Fan 73. Dylan Dodd, everybody trying to get rid of Dylan Dodd right now. Dylan Dodd and Nacho Alvarez. You want to trade my guy Nacho Alvarez to Pittsburgh for David Bednar. A lot of you sent in some mock trades for David Bednar. Big Dog Fan says Dodd seems like the odd man out and also has enough upside and is close to the majors for a team like Pittsburgh, and Bednar has 3 more years of control. Alvarez is also a player that has upside to sweeten the pot. Bednar does have 3 years of control, and he's one of the best relievers on the market. Like I said, if Josh Hader's not available, then it's probably David Bednar who would be the best reliever if he is available. And I question whether or not David Bednar is available, because you got to think the Pirates are getting close to at least trying to compete, and they have a controllable, affordable, great closer, great reliever in Bednar. I don't know that they want to give that up, and if they do, I think it's going to come at an extremely high price for a guy who has 3 years of control. You're talking about somebody who has a K rate over 30% and a walk rate of 4.8%. Like I said when we did this a couple of weeks ago, when I talked about stats I'm looking for with relievers, I want a K rate over 30. I want a walk rate under 8. He's got both of that. He has a 2.13x ERA. This is not going to come cheap. And Dodd, and as much as I love Nacho Alvarez, that's not going to be enough. I think maybe some combination of AJ Smith-Shawver, Owen Murphy, J.R. Ritchie, and Nacho Alvarez might be enough. You probably still have to throw in another B-level prospect, but I think if you throw in one of the top pitching prospects along with one of the top hitting prospects in Alvarez, and then maybe another throw-in, maybe a Geraldo Quintero is kind of a lottery ticket type of player, maybe that's enough to get it done. I still question if that's going to be enough. I mean, Bednar has just been amazing, and again would be one of the better relievers on the market. He's been one of the best relievers in baseball, and he has 3 years of control. Those years of control and cost affordable control, those cost a lot. You just don't get those players. Teams just don't give those up. Although the Pirates have made some questionable trades in the past, but typically teams aren't just going to give that up unless they're getting something significant in return. I mentioned a lot of trade suggestions for Bednar. Some said Grissom and Schuster for Bednar. That's not enough. Schuster and Dodd for Bednar. That's not enough. Grissom, Vines, and Dodd for Bednar. I still don't think that's enough. And then Dodd and Franklin for Bednar. Again, in my opinion, you're not getting Bednar unless you're giving up one of the top pitching prospects, unless you're giving up AJ Smith-Shawver, Owen Murphy, J.R. Ritchie. I just don't think you're getting Bednar unless you give up one of those guys. I can't see the Pirates doing that. Again, they made some questionable trades in the past, but it's just hard for me. If I was a Pirates fan, I would be underwhelmed by all of those trade suggestions right there. I would love the idea of getting Nacho Alvarez because I do love him, and I think he's going to be a really good player at the major league level, really good hitter, but I got to get a better pitching prospect than that. I got to get something better than Schuster or Dodd or Vines. I got to get a better pitching prospect than that from the Braves. Our Theme to Life says Braves get Dylan Cease, Braves trade Jared Schuster, Vaughn Grissom, Dylan Dodd. Everybody trying to ship off Schuster and Dodd. With some of the injuries and uncertainties that they have plagued the starting rotation this year, I feel the Braves need to trade for a viable piece to fortify their rotation going into October. I don't necessarily disagree there. I still think if the Braves have Max Fried and Spencer Strider healthy, that's enough to win a World Series, especially if Morton keeps pitching the way he does. Then I think the rotation is fine. But you're right, the starting rotation has been eaten up by injuries this year, and I think maybe you have to put in some insurances for that. Dylan Cease would certainly help in that regard. But Dylan Cease has 2 more years of control, and he's a perennial Cy Young contender. The Braves aren't coming close to getting him without giving up AJ Smith-Shawver plus. Again, I think this is another situation where it's probably either AJ Smith-Shawver, Owen Murphy, J.R. Ritchie, and Nacho Alvarez, and somebody else. It's probably going to take at least 3 of your top prospects to even come close to getting a Dylan Cease. You're talking about, again, a guy with 2 years of control, one of the best pitchers in baseball. A package of Schuster, Grissom, and Dodd, I don't think is enough. Maybe AJ Smith-Shawver, Nacho Alvarez, and Von Grissom, maybe that gets it done. I still don't know if that's enough. Again, you got to consider where the Braves farm system is right now, and it ranks as one of the worst in baseball. So giving up, your third or fourth ranked prospect in the system, that's not an equivalent of giving up a third or fourth ranked prospect in the Rays system. It's just not. That's where the Braves farm system is right now. So again, throwing out a couple of back rotation starters in Schuster and Dodd, as well as, somebody in Grissom who has a good bat, I don't think that's going to be enough for a Dylan Cease. Perry 57 says Grissom and AJ Smith-Shawver for Cease. I think that's a little bit closer. I think you might have to throw in one more piece there, but I do think that's a lot closer. And Jared Vickery throws in Dylan Dodd into that deal, saying Dodd, Grissom, and AJ Smith-Shawver for Cease. I do think that's a little bit closer, but probably still not quite enough to get Dylan Cease. But that may get it done. Again, I don't know what other teams want. It's hard to judge exactly how they value some of these prospects, but I do think whether it's for Cease or Bednar or Hader, I don't think you get any of those guys without giving up one of your top pitching prospects. I just don't. And if Alex Anthopoulos can pull that off without giving up AJ Smith-Shawver, Owen Murphy, J.R. Ritchie, Cole Phillips, Spencer Swellenbach, if he can work a trade for either of those guys without giving them up, then he truly is the genius that we all think he is. So that would be truly incredible. All right, got a lot of other trades to get to as well for some relievers, Justin Lawrence, Jordan Hicks, and others. We'll discuss those here and next. Buying tickets to your favorite event shouldn't be stressful, and it's not when you use Gametime, which is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. They have great deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, so you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting excited for all the fun you're going to have. I've used Gametime twice this year already to go to a couple of Braves games. It was easy. I got them last minute, so I didn't have to worry much about it. I got the best price guarantee out there as well. And what that Gametime guarantee means is that you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. You get images of your seat before you buy, which is a feature I love and can't live without. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. The Braves will pick things back up on Tuesday night against the Arizona Diamondbacks at 7:20 p.m. Eastern. Catch every pitch of the Braves' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search Braves. It's going to be trade-heavy talk this month. I said it, last month when you were sending me in questions about trade deadline. I said, let's wait till July, wait till after the All-Star break. Well, we're here now. So just about every podcast from here on out, we're going to be talking about trades. We'll probably take some more of your mock trades here as we get trade rumors. We'll discuss that as well. It is trade season as we are approaching the end of the month of July. So we'll be discussing that on just about every podcast here the rest of the way, as long as our normal stuff, recapping games, giving our stat of the day Wednesday, through the league Thursday, mailbag Friday, minors Monday, as well as our Taco Tuesday segment we're doing today, which features all of your mock trades. So let's continue with those mock trades. Next one coming from Josh Klein, who says Schuster for Hicks. In a seller's market, the Cards can likely do better even for a rental, but I'm guessing this is the best A is willing to offer versus any of the younger upside arms. I would agree in the sense that I wouldn't give up those top arms that I keep mentioning for Hicks, who is a rental player. His last year at Arby's not making a ton of money, but that 13.2% walk rate is very scary. And I'm not going to give up one of my top pitching prospects for 2 months of a guy who has a walk rate over 10%, even though he has a K rate of 32.2%, which is great. That's what I want. But that walk rate is just brutal, and that can cost you a game, in a big spot or in the postseason. He does have a 3.23 xERA. The fastball average is over 100. His sweeper has a 57.4% whip rate. he's got a lot of good things going for him. It's just every now and then he absolutely loses command of the strike zone, and he can lose you a game with that, walking the world, giving up a hard hit there, or just even a bloop, and can lose you a game. So I think that price is fair, and I might be willing to do that, giving up a Schuster or a Dodd. I hate to give up pitching depth, even if it is back to the rotation pitching depth for a 2-month rental, but I think that price is probably fair and might get that deal done. As John Klein says, there's probably a team out there that might be willing to give up something a little bit better than that. But I think that price is fair. And I like the idea of Hicks if you get him at that price, because he does have that dominant type of stuff you look for in a bullpen arm. It's just that 13% walk rate is hard to get past. Wendy says Adbert Alzolay for Dylan Dodd. Alzolay is 28-year-old right-hander under control for 3 more years through arbitration. 28.8% K rate, 3.9% walk rate, 2.39 xERA. Those are great. Those are numbers I'm looking for. Might be a little bit more expensive than that. Maybe Dodd and Grissom gets that done, but Alzolay, again, young right-handed reliever under control for many years with the Cubs, who again are probably hoping to compete pretty soon. So they'd probably have to be, pretty blown away in a deal to give him up. But I love the metrics there. It's not quite the 30% K rate that I'm looking for, but almost 29% and that walk rate at 4%. Would you rather have that or Jordan Hicks? Hicks has 4% more strikeout rate, but 10% more on his walk rate, and their expected ERAs, are about the same, or actually Alzolay's is about a run better. So I think in that situation, especially with the years of control, I'd rather go with Alzolay in that scenario. It probably cost you a little bit more, or it will cost you a little bit more, but that may be the safer pick. And again, you get somebody with control. I just don't know the availability of Alzolay from the Cubs. Cavs Buckeye says Jake Bird and Justin Lawrence for Grisham, Swellenbach, and Schuster. Bird is 27-year-old right-hander, still pre-arb eligible, 22% K rate, 8.1% walk rate, 4.13 xERA. Those numbers don't exactly jump out to me. I think the Braves have relievers that are just that good, if not better. So I don't really see the need for Bird. Lawrence is a guy I've heard a lot of people mention, 28-year-old right-hander. He's also pre-arb eligible, so lots of years of control left. 25.6% K rate, 11.3% walk rate, 2.82 xERA. Walk rate a little bit high, but that expected ERA very solid. No idea what the Rockies will do. Nobody ever knows what they're going to do, but there's no urgency to move either of these guys who have lots of years of control left. And again, I don't really see the need for Bird. Lawrence, yes, I think could make some sense, even though that walk rate, just like with Hicks, kind of scares me a little bit. I just don't see the need for the Rockies to move either of these guys unless they're blown away. And look, that's a solid package. Grissom, Schwellenbach, and Schuster. You're getting Grissom, who I think is going to be a very solid big league bat. You get Schwellenbach, who has some upside as a potential mid-rotation starter, and Schuster, who I think you can plug into the back of your rotation right now. So, I mean, it's not a terrible package. I just don't know if it's enough right now to overwhelm the Rockies to give up 2 young bullpen arms who they could have for a long time to help them out there. So, again, I don't hate the package. I just don't necessarily know the motivation for the Rockies to move either of those guys. Walker Acuna for MVP on Twitter says Rosario and some prospects to the Cubs for Bellinger. I've heard a lot of people here lately talking about, swapping Rosario and Bellinger. Bellinger's a rental. He's making $17.5 million. So Braves are probably had to pay $7 or $8 million to acquire him, which makes sense. If you're going to send Rosario back in the deal, that money kind of swaps a little bit. Braves would still have to pay more in that situation, as Rosario is only making $9 million this year. The question here becomes, if you like Bellinger and you want the Braves to trade for him, is, again, I've seen a lot of you suggest that on Twitter. Is he better than Eddie Rosario? And I think that's a question you have to ask. And is he enough of an upgrade to give up Rosario, who has some big hits for the Braves? He's had some big moments. I think he's a great in the clubhouse and prospects, because you have to give up Rosario and a prospect here. Maybe not a big prospect, but you got to give up Rosario and a prospect. The Cubs don't even want Rosario. That would just be to swap money in that situation. Cubs would mainly be doing that to get a solid prospect back in return. But is Cody Bellinger better than Eddie Rosario? And you look at the metrics. Sure, if you look at the standard line for Bellinger, it looks like he's having a great season. You look at the metrics for both of these guys, it's pretty much the same expected batting average, around 250. Rosario has a much higher expected slugging percentage and much better contact data. Bellinger ranks in the 12th percentile in average exit velocity and the 7th percentile in hard hit percentage. So we're not making a lot of hard contact with Bellinger, at least not consistently. The walk rates are similar. Bellinger's is a little bit better, about 1% better. And Bellinger has cut down on his K rate nearly 10%. And that's really the big difference that you're seeing right now offensively between these two, is that Rosario's K rate back to really where it was last year, around 25%. And that's not where it's been in his career. It's been more around 15, 17%. And it's the exact opposite for Bellinger this year, where his strikeout rate's normally in the mid-20s. He's now cut it down to about 17%. So that's really the only place you're seeing a big difference between these two in the hard contact, where Rosario is better than Bellinger. The only real upgrade you're seeing in the expected stats and the metrics for Bellinger is the fact that he's cut down his strikeout rate. Walk rate's not really gone up too much. Hard hits aren't going up very much, but he has cut down on his K rate. So that's really the only difference between Bellinger and Rosario offensively. When you're looking at the metrics, again, you're just looking at the standard slash line and numbers. Bellinger probably looks a lot better, but you look into the metrics of it, and Rosario probably overall is still the better hitter this year than Bellinger. But even if you say they're the same offensively, what gives Bellinger the edge is that he is better defensively. And look, a lot of this is coming as maybe a little bit of an overreaction from the White Sox game on Saturday, where Rosario, potentially cost the Braves a game because of his defense. Overall this year, I don't think it's been a big deal. There's been some games here or there where I thought maybe there was a ball Rosario should have got to that he didn't, and it has hurt the Braves. But overall, it's not something that I think has been a huge detriment out there in left field. Would I like somebody out there with a little bit more speed, somebody who gets better jumps and can, also hit 250 and hit 15 to 20 home runs? Yeah. And could that be Bellinger? Yes. But again, is it worth giving up the prospects to give somebody who's maybe or is, a slight upgrade defensively in left field and is a pretty similar hitter? It's just hard for me to see Alex Anthopoulos doing that. I think some of this is a little bit just overreaction from what happened on Saturday, where, maybe Rosario was dealing with a hamstring injury that was costing him some issues. And maybe some of it was just poor defensive placement. I said it on the podcast the other day. He should not have been playing that deep against Benintendi. I mean, Benintendi doesn't have a lot of power. I'm not going to go into that again, but I think some of it was also just defensive placement and knowing the limitations of Eddie Rosario out there and putting him in a place to succeed. So again, I get it with the Bellinger talk. It's just, I don't see it happening. I don't see it as enough of an upgrade to justify giving up Rosario, who's had some big moments for your team, and prospects for Bellinger, who I think has overperformed based on his metrics so far this year. And you'd really just be getting somebody who's better defensively. Do the Braves have that already in Sam Hilliard? I think that's something you got to consider when you're thinking about trading for Cody Bellinger. But if you think I'm wrong, please let me know down in the comment section. Would love to continue that discussion. Final two here, both of them coming from Coach Panone's film supplier, says Alan Winans for Joe Kelly. Kelly's 35, right-handed, coming off injury, supposed to be coming back this week. He's making $9 million this year, has a $9.5 million club option for next year with a $1 million buyout. I think the price seems about right. White Sox probably getting, a back of the rotation type of arm for a rental reliever, unless you're going to pick up that option, and maybe they do plan to. But I think that price is probably about right. Maybe you could do that for Dodd or Schuster as well, again, depending on what the White Sox like. But I think giving up, a back of the rotation type of arm who has years of control for essentially a rental reliever, I think that price is about what it should be. 30.8% K rate, 8.3% walk rate, 3.00 xERA. That's about what I'm looking for in getting a dominant type of reliever. 47.2% whiff rate on his slider, and his fastball averages 99. So he has that big helium in the fastball. He's got the big whiff rate on that slider. Again, what you're looking for in a dominant setup type reliever. So I think Kelly makes sense. And I think that's a deal the Braves, could get done. It also says Cody Milligan and Jesse Franklin for Carlos Estevez. Estevez with the Angels. He's 30, right-handed, under control for this year and next year at $6.5 million a year. So you get somebody with a little bit more of control. 28.2% K rate, 12.2% walk rate, and a 3.43 xERA. Might take a little bit more than to give a couple of, fourth outfielders for the Angels closer in Carlos Estevez. I think that price is definitely going to be a little bit higher than that. It may take a Vaughn Grissom and a Dylan Dodd to get Carlos Estevez. And I think I'd almost rather have Joe Kelly than Carlos Estevez. The metrics on Estevez aren't great and show signs of perhaps some regression coming for him later on, especially with that high walk rate that he has. So I'd almost rather have Joe Kelly over Carlos Estevez in those two mock trade situations. So thank you so much for submitting those mock trade ideas. There's some I didn't get to. I apologize. Again, I'll probably do some more of these throughout the month. So be thinking of some more mock trades. Let's continue discussion down in the comment section below on YouTube and on Twitter as well. But thank you so much for submitting those. Next, we'll turn our attention back to the field where it would be the Braves and Diamondbacks on Tuesday night. We'll discuss that here and next. Hopefully we'll get some more injury news on Tuesday regarding Eddie Rosario and others. Max Fried is set to make another rehab start at Gwinnett this coming up Thursday as well. So that's good for him. The Braves selected the contract of Forrest Wall and placed Colby Allard on the 60-day injured list, backdated to July 17th. So finally getting to see Forrest Wall come up. He's had a big season at Gwinnett, a really fast runner as well. So good to see him get an opportunity. We'll see how much he actually gets to play, but could be a pinch runner, perhaps another defensive replacement in left field if something is going to happen to Rosario. Haven't heard the news on Rosario yet, but imagine maybe with them calling up Forrest Wall, that does mean that Rosario is unavailable at the moment. So some late breaking news here as I'm recording this. Forrest Wall up, Colby Allard to the 60-day IL. Be the Braves and Diamondbacks game 1 on Tuesday night. Diamondbacks, really good team. The fun series out in Arizona. Seemed like that series kind of sparked the Braves and the run that they went on in June and into July. It'll be Zach Davies versus Bryce Elder. Been a rough year for Zach Davies, so hopefully this is an opportunity for the Braves offense to get going once again. He's given up 3 earned or more in 5 of his last 6 starts, and he's given up more than 3 runs in 4 of those last 6 starts. So, again, an opportunity here for this Braves offense to put up a big number. For Bryce Elder, bouncing back from the roughest outing of the year that he had right before the All-Star break against the Rays. But, again, a great first half. Looking forward to seeing him get back out there and get back to doing what he does, working deep into games, giving his team a chance to win. This Diamondbacks offense has been struggling somewhat as of late, so hopefully it's a good matchup here for Bryce Elder. Control that stuff in the zone, get that weak contact on the ground, manipulate it with that sinker, that slider combination that he has, and hopefully he can get back to work and get the Braves in the win column and then get back to winning each and every series, which was a lot of fun when they did that there for a month and a half. The Braves and the Diamondbacks will get going on Tuesday at 7:20 p.m. Eastern. It'll be Zach Davies against All-Star Bryce Elder. Catch every pitch of the Braves hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search Braves. That will do it for this episode of Locked On Braves. Again, thank you so much for submitting your mock trades. Thanks so much for making Locked On Braves your first listen of each and every day. If you're an everydayer, let me know down in the comment section below. Make sure you follow the podcast on Twitter at LockedOn_Braves. You can follow me at ShortstopBall. Also, make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcast, and we will talk to you next time.